So much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa. Let's get started.
Hello, partner. What's up?
Hello. I tell you, doing well over here. You know what? Let me think. Am I really doing well? Is that just what I'm saying? No, I'm pretty good today. I'm doing the self check-in. How are you doing?
Same. I am doing well today. Got the
Good.
day started off with a nice vigorous walk.
Oh, I'm
And
so jealous. I'm so
but
jealous.
here's the thing. I think I was being stalked by a hawk.
Okay,
Honestly,
really,
I
really.
have the pictures to prove it. I took pictures. You know I'm always
Eh,
taking pictures. I took pictures to prove it. Oh my goodness. With my phone.
Okay, the hawk was following you. Is that what you're
He,
saying?
yes, he was following me. I think he thought I was prey. I don't know, but he scared me.
Oh,
He,
Lord.
so I was walking on this trail and it's a loop and I had to pass him and he would sit there all proudly, on this branch and his head, he followed me as I walked past him. And then as I went around the loop, he flew to the other side and
Uh-huh.
watched me from there. And he kept doing that as I looped. Lou, he was stalking me.
Okay, Teresa being stalked by the hawk. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
He
But
was
you did
beautiful
you
though.
I was about to say, did you manage to have a nice walk?
Oh, I did. It was a
Yeah.
lovely, serene walk.
Oh, that
Yeah.
is so
Yeah.
nice. I love a good walk. But Teresa, I haven't been able to walk as much. My knee was bothering me, so I'm trying to get into this recovery stuff so
How is
that
that working?
Well, I used that thing on my knee the other day, the recovery tool,
Yeah.
and
The
it
one
feels,
that
yeah,
with the
yeah,
cold
that
treatment.
feels like you're in an ice plunge. I felt so much better. But yesterday, I worked out every day this week except yesterday, and we had some work done at the house, so I needed to be available to people. So it's still, I had a good a week. I didn't get hot yoga in, but once I could not work it in my schedule, but once this week, I was bummed about that because
Yeah.
my minimum is two, and which isn't saying a whole lot, so don't judge me. But anyway, I didn't get that in.
That is a lot when most of us don't get any.
Well, I tell you, it is hot. It's
Yeah.
hot. But anyway,
So
it's
how does that studio rank to your home, your old studio?
well, okay. You know, there's something to be said about familiarity. You know how
Yeah.
you said being away, even though you're happy to be with your mom and daughter and it's wonderful to be home, you miss what you have at home, what you've set up that works for you. And oh my goodness, moving, that was one of my big concerns was my yoga studio. And I miss them so much because I've been there for 9 years.
Oh, wow. Had it been that
Yeah,
long?
it had been 9 years because I asked before I left. Remember, Teresa, I told you I asked them to give me a count of how many classes, and I was almost at 1,000 yoga classes. I was like at
Wow.
896, I think is what they wrote down.
Oh, wow.
And so anyway, I knew that was going to be hard, but I tried to keep an open mind because that's not possible. I moved out of state. I gotta find a new one. And so the new one that I found two, but one of them doesn't, the one that's closest to me, they don't practice the style of yoga that I prefer. The Hot 26 and 2, formerly known as Bikram. That's my preference, 90 minutes. And the studio that's closest to me, they do hot vinyasa, which is a lot of stretching and holding, and I don't prefer that. I prefer the other. And the studio that actually offers the 26 and 2 that feels more like the one in Virginia, it takes me about 40 minutes to get there. But
Mm.
that's the one I went to this week. And that's the one I most likely go to this coming week. I'm just going to have to eat the 40 minutes because that's what I like that studio. I like the people. Um, I love Virginia studio because I got to know the people but these people seem nice. They're a little bit more regimented to me. In at our studio in Virginia, they sort of give you a lot of grace. If you need to take a break or maybe don't not quite feeling that posture. Yeah, here they sort of expect you to roll with it. And so that's been an adjustment. But lucky for me at this point in my life, I don't really follow people's directions like that. I pretty much make my own mind up. So when I need to take a break, I take one. When I need to make a modification, I make it. So
Yeah,
anyway,
there
that's where I
you
am.
go. There
Yeah.
you go. And I think that is a wonderful segue into what we're talking about today.
Yeah, yeah, actually it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we have to recognize that we have the ability to say no.
So true. And you know what? We are going to actually do a subtitle today on this episode, and it is No is a full sentence. So
Full
let's,
stop.
yeah,
No.
let's jump into it.
Okay.
Again, we're here at Earrings Off, and we are talking about the power behind the word no. And this, Teresa, this hits home for so many women. It's so hard to say no, even when we know it's the right thing to do.
I mean, once you give it a try and you realize that the earth didn't stop,
Hmm.
that's when you know it's okay.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that's what I'm experiencing right now. You
Really?
remember how I started out the year saying that I was going to
Yeah.
be totally selfish this
Yeah. Yeah.
year and taking care of myself. And part of that has been turning down some things, saying,
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm not available.
Yeah.
When in the past, I would have absolutely moved whatever I had to do to make certain things happen. I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. And
That's
it
good.
feels good. Of course, this is the bad part. And I'm sure, I mean, we're going to talk about it. I feel a little bit of guilt.
Oh yeah. 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 We
Yeah,
do.
I do.
We do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even with the example when I was talking earlier about yoga, I even feel some kind of way when I don't do, as much as I think I can do that particular day. It's like, okay, are you just being lazy today? Are you just so even with that, there's that self-doubt, even when you say, no, this is what I'm doing today, or
Hmm.
no, I'm not comfortable with that today. So,
Hmm.
Teresa, I know you heard about it, the incident where everybody was talking about former First Lady Michelle Obama, who chose not to attend Trump's inauguration. And that has just been all over social media. I mean, yeah, who chose not to attend this year. So yeah.
Well, I didn't see that, right? But what
Uh-huh.
what I saw was a headline that said the Obamas were getting a divorce or
Right.
something with
Yeah. Yeah.
Obama and
Yeah.
divorce. And I said, "Oh, say it is not so."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that sent me to look into what in the world was going on. And that's what I ended up getting to, that people were up in arms about her not being at some event. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
really, people?
Yeah, yeah. And I watched a clip of an interview where she shared that that was a hard decision because all of the other first ladies and former presidents are there. It's what's done. it's tradition. And even I dare say it's been protocol, but she said that that was not something she felt comfortable doing because she had been very vocal in saying her concerns about this country electing Trump. And she didn't mince words about that. And so she said to protect her peace, she knew she could not attend. So, yeah. And there were, like you said, so many rumors about the Obamas getting divorced. Is she angry? And she said, you know what? She just had to hear that and keep stepping because she knew that was not her truth. Yeah.
And if we should consider that a master class, honestly, in saying
Right.
no, because if one of the highest profile events of
Right.
being a president, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she absolutely said no to protect her peace. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, what? I mean,
Yeah.
drop the mic. I mean, so
Right.
we
Right.
we can say no to our extra meeting of the week or extra lunch,
Right.
whatever.
Right. Right.
It's all small potatoes, is what I'm trying to say in the
Right.
scheme of things.
Well, and it is, but it's big to us in our lives and in our
Well,
relationships and how we're perceived and how we go forward. It impacts our day-to-day interactions.
yeah,
So, Teresa, let's
you're
talk
right.
about why it's so hard for so many women. Saying yes is sort of baked into how we're raised. We're taught to be polite, be helpful. Don't make waves, and it's particularly with African American women. We don't want to be seen as aggressive or negative, and all of those labels that get attached to us when we're merely trying to walk in our authentic selves. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. If you say no, we're often labeled as, like you said, aggressive, difficult,
Yeah.
selfish,
Yeah.
and God forbid, a bad team player, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we're taught to people please even before we know, what that means. And I even observed that. I think even when I look at sometimes my granddaughter and grandson, he has no problem going against the grain and saying no and being very clear about what he wants to do and doesn't want to do. And I sometimes see her trying to make sure that everybody's okay and that
Your
to sort of
granddaughter. Yeah.
keep the peace. And I tell you, my grandson has he does not try to do that at all. So I even see that in those relationships at
But
such a
what
young age.
Yeah, what we have to realize is that, saying yes to everyone else often means that we're saying no to ourselves.
It's so true. It's so true. And I mean, that's the thing. That's the mic drop right there. Because we really do have to think about it's not just about the other person or their relationship or the impact. It's about what is this doing to us
Right.
when we're constantly piling on and taking on so much rather than making an assessment and saying, no, this is not going to work for me. And it's a hard thing, but yeah, yeah. So very hard.
Hmm.
So because we're always feeling like even when we say yes and we know that's not the response we were comfortable getting, we then start thinking about why did we do that? Why did I say yes to that when I knew it was not the best response for me? Yeah.
I don't know, but we do that. It's like in our gut, we know that we shouldn't have said yes to that, right?
Yeah.
And then you're stuck.
Yeah, yeah,
You're,
yeah.
you're stuck and often drained or stressed out
Yeah.
just for the sake of not disappointing someone else.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, 9 times out of 10, your gut is trying to tell you, no, this is not going to be a good move for you. But we, in the effort to appease people, to, not disappoint, we just push that aside and try to ignore that. And continue to say yes to things that really don't resonate with our spirit, that don't work for us at that particular time.
But
Yeah.
check this, check this. Saying no can literally be an act of emotional and mental self-care. We have to see it that way.
Well, it's very, very true. And even when you think about relationships, we hate for people to for us to be the reason someone feels bad or maybe feels hurt. But you have to remember it's not intentional. We're not being intentional in hurting others or disappointing others, but we are really trying to protect our mental and emotional health and our well-being. So, Teresa, there have been moments in history where women have been in hard places and have had to say no, and it paid off.
Powerful women. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm going to start with myself.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just kidding. But, I did say no to something last night. I could have gone out with some girlfriends, but I chose not and to stay in. And this morning, I woke up with the best sleep score that I've had all week. So
Wow. Yeah.
that really paid off. But I digress. You did
Yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
powerful
No,
women.
but
So
that's an excellent point though.
yeah,
And we can't minimize that. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
want our audience to get that, Teresa, that
yeah.
just because we're not on in the news and on a big stage doesn't mean that we aren't confronted with this issue and that we shouldn't take the opportunity to say no to improve our own lives, to
Yeah.
maintain our peace. So, no, don't minimize that. That's
Oh,
big.
okay. Well, let me talk a little bit about someone who said no.
Okay.
Uh, Rosa Parks, remember?
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
said no to giving up her seat on that
Yeah.
Montgomery
I
bus
mean,
back
let's
in
think
19.
about that because we
Yeah.
talk about that in history, but oh my goodness, how
And
difficult and scary that must have been for her.
right. And
Yeah.
saying no helped for her saying no helped to spark the civil rights movement.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
And Teresa, what I remember, and I don't know if I'm saying her name correctly, but the young lady, Malala, when the Taliban told girls not to go to school and she said no. And
Yeah,
I mean, that was huge because she got shocked. I mean, for saying no, and thankfully she survived. And now, as a result of her courage and her ability to say no, she's a global advocate for education and, of course, the youngest Nobel Prize laureate. So,
that is
I
true.
mean, think about that.
I can't.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
big. It's like
yeah.
it's hard to wrap my head around that no.
Well,
And what the
yeah,
results, were for her. I mean, she
right.
just didn't.
Yeah,
I when I read about this young lady, she's so inspiring. I mean, just so
absolutely.
inspiring. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But Oprah Winfrey, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you know that she walked away from a $20 million deal with the publishing house because she didn't want to give away too much of the creative control.
I heard about her walking away. I didn't know the reason behind it.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
She said no, started her own magazine and the OWN network and
Wow.
created a media empire on her terms.
Wow. Saying no.
No, yeah, she said no.
Wow. And
Yeah.
I tell you, Teresa, the one I think about is Simone Biles. Now, remember, she said no to competing in the
Yes.
2021 Tokyo Olympics because she felt like her mental health was at risk. She wasn't physically injured where people could say, no, she took a fall or she's hurt her leg or her hip or her back. It wasn't anything people could see,
See,
but
yeah.
she knew where she was mentally.
I,
And
I,
she stepped back,
yeah, she
you
did.
know? She
I,
stepped back.
I learned so much during that.
Wow.
I never once thought about them spinning in the air on this balance beam and
Yeah.
coming down.
Oh, Teresa,
You
I thought
have
about
to,
it every time I saw them
no,
because
no, I
it's,
took it for granted.
oh, no, no. Yeah,
I
yeah.
took it for granted.
Well,
But
see, Teresa, you're talking to a person who's afraid of heights. So, yeah, I thought about it all the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, she knew what was going on inside of her.
Right.
And I'm
And
so
only
glad.
she knew.
And
Only
I'm
she knew.
so glad she did not risk
Yeah.
her
And
life even. Think about
yes.
that.
And people were mad. I
I
mean, the
can't believe it.
media, it was constantly in the news because people felt like she wasn't a patriot. How could she do this? And, people were depending on her, her whole team, but she held firm. People were mad. They were upset because she prioritized her well-being, and now she's competing again. She's stronger than ever. And as you know, in the last Olympics in 2024, she took no prisoners. Oh my
That's
goodness.
right.
She won three
Yeah.
gold medals and one silver. But beyond the actual medals, she silenced her critics. She proved that she knows herself best and she places her priority above anything else. And as a result, she inspired a nation.
She did, Lou.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
did.
yeah.
Here, let's talk about why no is a form of self-love. And a takeaway from what you just said is that if someone says no, it's not a rejection, and you
Right,
should not see it as such. It's
right.
just a redirection
Well,
toward what you as the individual need, believe, and value.
well, and it's so true. And I tell you, I have to share a powerful, well, I don't know if it's powerful to others, but it certainly means something to me when I was went to college, uh, fresh from high school, and it didn't feel like a good fit for me.
Hmm.
And when I said I don't want to be here, I mean, everybody was upset. And then I started thinking, well, so now I'm gonna go to college if I don't go here and if I make a different move, if I pivot. And that was a hard thing to stand up and say, this does not fit me. I'm
Hmm.
not, this does not feel like the place where I need to be. And it wasn't the place so much as where I was emotionally. Never
Hmm.
been away from home, come from the big family, baby of the family. It was just a little bit too much for little Lou at that time. So anyway, but I stood against forces telling me, no, stop being a baby. You stay there and all of that. And I just knew that was not going to work for me because I just didn't feel like I would be able to maintain my sanity and my peace. So saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person who knows yourself and knows your worth and where
Right.
you are emotionally.
I just can't help myself.
Stop, Teresa.
I just can't help myself.
What,
Lou,
Teresa, you never
so
walked in my shoes. Don't you minimize what I have been through in my journey.
all I'm doing is learning something else about you. You
Hmm.
know, you've been this way your whole life.
What do you mean?
Stubborn.
It's not stubborn. I was having a hard time. I was not a kid who ever got to go to camp. I got to stay away from anything. This was a lot for me. So that's another lesson I
Okay,
want our
okay.
audience to hear. Be sure and send your children away when they're growing up so they understand how that feels. And don't just throw them into the ocean the first time and send them to college and expect them to thrive, okay? But I digress. Teresa, leave me
Okay,
alone.
okay, okay, okay. You're right. You're right. You're right. Saying no
Yes,
doesn't make you a bad person.
yes,
And you're right. It makes you a person who knows your worth. I
yes.
agree. I agree with
Okay.
you, Lou.
Well, thank you for that agreement. Let's stop treating no like a dirty word and
Okay.
start
Okay.
seeing it for what it really is. It's a boundary, a choice, and really, it's a beautiful, brave act of self-respect.
Yes, I agree 100%. We've reached the end of this episode, and if this episode hit home with you, please share it with a friend who needs a little reminder that her no is powerful.
Absolutely. And if it doesn't change the world, it may just change her circle. And you
Mhm.
never know who's watching, who needs to know that no is not a bad word. If you haven't already, please, please, please hit that follow button. We have new episodes which drop every week. And trust, we are always looking for new conversations. We're always fresh, and it's always something that we all can use.
Until next time, protect your peace, honor your gut, and remember no is a full sentence.
Thanks so much for joining us here today on Earrings Off. Take good care.